Books on the Brain.
Welcome back to Books on the Brain, a podcast of books and nonsense. I'm Deirdre.
And I'm Danielle.
And as you can see, we have a very special guest joining us on today's extra special episode of the pod. Isabel Klee is a writer and content creator. She documents her experiences rehabilitating dogs on social media through her writing and storytelling. She lives in Brooklyn with her fiance Jacob, her dog Simon, and a rotating cast of foster dogs. Her new book, Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About, comes out on April 28th. Welcome to the pod, Isabel.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you. I have to tell you, when your publicist said you would come on the podcast, I did cry a little. I was very excited.
Oh, well,
You're
that's
just a big
appropriate.
fan.
It's appropriate for the book title.
Yes.
I love to cry.
I have to say,
Same.
since you have come into my life via social media, I have done a lot of crying.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot. And I always like people are like, you make me cry every day. I'm like, I'm so sorry because I don't want to make people cry every day, but I think it's like a good cry. I think it's
No, it's
like
healthy.
cathartic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of cry that I like. I genuinely think that crying is like really, really healthy. Obviously, you shouldn't be crying all the time, but like
Right.
it's such a release and to like let that out, I think is really good for you or people in general.
Yes. So we're here to talk about this fab book.
Oh, I didn't even see it behind you. Oh my God.
Both have it.
How cute.
Um, we both loved it. Spoiler alert, we both really, 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 really loved it.
Good.
It was, we're both dog. I have two cats right now, but we both have dogs. I have a family dog. Deirdre has a family dog. So I feel like we were your target audience for this. We were like, yes, yes, yes. So good. Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About is a beautiful love letter to all things growing up. Finding your true self through your passions and meeting furry soulmates. What was your inspo for writing this memoir? Why did you decide to tell this story?
I have always been like a writer. Like I've always I went to school for writing. My parents are writers. My brother is a writer. It's just kind of like in my blood. And I actually started writing a memoir like when I was like 20, which is so funny because I'm like, what do you have to say when you're 20? Um, but more, I shouldn't say I started writing a memoir. I started writing like personal essays and like
Yes.
that I was like really into. And but like, you know, they never went anywhere. And then you graduate from college and like nobody becomes a writer like straight out of the gate. Nobody's like, I'm gonna like you, of course, everybody who's a writer wants to write a book one day, but it's not like, you know, realistic. So my first job out of college, I ended up working for a dog photographer, which is how I've always been dog obsessed. I've always like volunteered at animal shelters, but that's kind of how I got into like the social media dog side of it. And then when I went out and started doing my own thing, I started kind of like naturally sharing content, but like in a very like storytelling way. Like I think it's just the way my brain works of like everything is very like episodic, like chapters and
Yes.
the way that I describe things. And so just kind of like I think my writing background just like lended itself to what I was doing. And that's I had never like thought to pair the dogs with the writing. It was
Mm.
always kind of like very separate. And then my literary agent, Jessica, reached out to me 2 years ago and she just like cold emailed me and was like, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, only every day of my life. And
Literally.
we kind of met and like talked about it and like kind of came up with this concept together of like, because I love writing about love. I'm such a hopeless romantic. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like marrying that and my experiences in New York City with these experiences that I've had with dogs and like making it kind of this one cohesive story. So that is really where it all came together. But like in a lot of ways, I've been working towards this for a long time without even like really knowing it.
I
Yeah.
love
It all
that.
just kind of like came together at the perfect moment, it feels like.
Yeah. And it's just like I feel like when I was doing my content, never once was I like, this is gonna lead to a book deal. Like it's just like it was like never on my plane of existence. But she saw, you know, and she reached out to me before I even had a lot of followers, like before Tiki, before anything. So she like saw something in me, which I really like value and appreciate. It's not just like after I went viral or after, it was like she saw something like much before everybody else did. And really helped me put together this idea of like my two loves, which is writing and dogs.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what to expect from the book,
Mhm.
obviously. Like following you on social media, it's your debut novel, and I was so struck by how thoughtful your storytelling is. And um I just really loved it. I was so captivated. I like could not put it down.
Thank you. I've had a couple people say that I think it's like an easy read. Like you can read it in one sitting if you're like
Yeah.
a real like book person, which I like. Like I don't,
Yes.
you don't want, I personally like at this stage in my life, I don't want to read anything that is like grating to get through. Like I love fun reads. I love like things that really just like hook me in and it's kind of like you can escape for a little bit. And I am glad that people feel that way about this book because I definitely don't want it to be like so, like a do not finish, like something that you're just like
Yeah.
oh like I don't want to get through this, but like I kind of have to because I bought it. Like I'm glad that it's an easy read in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there are several moments in the book where you talk about the surety of knowing what comes next, and like what you're in is going to lead you to this a new chapter in your life. And particularly at the beginning of the book, I'm sorry, I'm going to read you your own quote back to you. You said, I'd come into this apartment as a broken girl, and I knew deep down I would be leaving it more myself than I had ever been. And I feel like I can pinpoint moments in my life where I've experienced this. So I'm curious if you can talk a little bit more about this, like surety of knowing that you are walking into something that is going to change you and become a defining moment in your life.
Yes, I have this weird thing. And honestly, I don't know if it's that weird. Like, I think people would probably identify with this and agree with this, not at this point in my life, because at this point in my life, I'm like really settled. And like in my 20s, there was this like weird part of me that liked heartbreak. Like
Mm,
I welcomed heartbreak because it meant that like my life was changing and it was like it meant that something else was happening and it wasn't like I was happy that my heart was broken, but it felt like I don't know how to describe it. Like it felt like being alive. It was like, oh my God, like I'm living my life and things are happening to me. And like it was almost like an excuse to like feel my feelings and to just like experience
mm,
what was happening. And I think in those moments where it was like my heart was broken and I had to move apartments and I had to like live with these random people, I was like, there, I think this is also like a writer thing where it's like, that like what is happening currently will be something you write about later and it's going to be an experience, which I actually think a lot of people, even if you're not a writer, it's such a good way to look at your life of being like things might be hard right now, but like this is going to make my life so like interesting or a good story to tell or like just like give me a learning lesson, like some it's just like having that perspective in that moment of being like 10 years from now I'm going to look back on this and be like that was so crazy. Like, I can't believe that happened.
right.
And isn't it better to have those stories to tell than to like never have any friction in your life or never have anything to talk about? So I do think in those moments, there was this like, yes, I was heartbroken and devastated, but there was this like spark of excitement of being like, ooh, I don't know what's going to happen. And like, I don't know how it's going to unfold. And I think that has always been very exciting for me, even when it was really hard.
Yeah. It's I as I was reading the book, obviously it's hard in a memoir not to like think about your own life
Of
as
course.
you're reading somebody else's. And I was like, okay, yes, like specifically throughout my 20s. Oh, well, I'm 31. It's like the majority of my
I'm
life.
33 and I wrote a
Okay.
memoir.
So,
So
um, there are like two or three like really big moments and even smaller ones that I can think about where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, when I think back on that moment, I think I knew that there was like a crossroads in front of me and I could either stay with what I was doing or I could make a change. And either decision was going to make a defining
yep.
moment in my life.
Mhm.
Um, And I feel like some people don't want to face that. They're like,
Yeah.
I actually don't want to think about how I'm going to change or if I want to change. And I'm always interested in like how people think about themselves and their experiences.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like if you ask my parents, like growing up, I was a highly anxious child and like hated change. Like literally,
Mm.
like I wouldn't even want to go to a new restaurant. It would make me so anxious. And um I actually think that's kind of part of the reason why I like thrive in these situations is because I like won't change things or historically have not wanted to change things in my life unless it's been like forced upon me. And then
Mm.
when it's been forced upon me, it's like always the best thing that's ever happened to me because I'm like, same with losing my job where I'm like, I probably would have stayed at that job for God knows how long. I was at the same job for 7 years until I got let go or, whatever. And now look at my life. And it's like, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been forced out or like my boyfriend hadn't cheated on me or like XYZ. And it's like these situations that you have to be forced into to grow and change. And like sometimes those are the best things that could ever happen to you, even if it's not what you want in the moment. Like obviously nobody wants to get cheated on, but
Right.
I thank God I got out of that relationship. You know what I mean? So just like seeing it from that perspective, I also think is helpful.
Yeah.
And I love how you're able to like look at these big life like milestones or check-ins, whatever, um, with almost like a third person observation of like this is mm, I know what I felt in the moment, but this is what I'm seeing now, and this is how I can comment on it now of like I see where this leads to. And even just knowing in your heart like this is going to lead somewhere. But having that like almost like removed reject perspective of like even if I'm not feeling great about this right now, I know this is gonna propel something bigger, which is, I think, a really healthy way to look at life, which was really
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah, and I also think if you reflect in those moments, like in the book I talk about one of my first very serious boyfriend cheating on me. Um Even in that moment when I was so like devastated and heartbroken, I even like experiencing it live, I remember feeling relief. And I write about that in the book. And it's like I think even if you like look closely at yourself and really like feel your gut and feel all these things, like what is right and what is wrong, even if it's like feels like the end of the world. I remember feeling that like, oh my God, thank God. I'm like, thank God. And that's so interesting, even as a 21-year-old, that you can be that in tune with your body and that in tune with like the direction in which your life is supposed to go.
Yeah. And
Very
in all of those moments for me, I cried.
Yep. Yep.
Like a deep release of just like,
Mm-hmm.
I know that even though this decision is hard, this is the correct decision for
Yes.
me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even if something is correct, it doesn't make it easy.
Yeah,
Right.
very much.
Yeah.
Very much that. Um, Amazing. Um, so we've talked about a little bit like how throughout your story in this memoir and in life we have these like different chapters. And being that you have a background with writing and loving of a reading, I was curious, like how you've done in your memoir. Um, are there books or pieces of media that kind of bookmark times in your life that go along with some of this journey that we're seeing in the book too?
I Yes, I feel like I always say that I've always loved reading, of course. Sally Rooney was like I remember reading her when I was like in my 20s, and that was like a real life-changing, like just like reading every single one of her books and really getting deep into it. And I remember her writing being like reading that and not only I mean she's a fantastic writer and I remember reading it and being like that's that's how I want to write and not like copying her, but like that's how I want people to experience my writing. And like that's how I want to make people feel. But also just how she's so tapped into young people and young people's feelings and like really taking that seriously. And I think a lot of like TV shows or media or books um kind of looks at young love as like silly or toxic or whatever. But she really like puts weight to it, and I am very inspired by that. Um, but then also, I I was an English literature major, so spent so much of my college years reading like every book under the sun that your English professor makes you read. And when I got out of college, I actually started a smut book club because I was like, I'm just so sick of reading this stuff. And I don't like it. Felt like every book club I joined was like, what is like the most depressing book that we can make everybody read? And I was like, I don't want to do this. I want reading to be fun. I want to enjoy myself. I think Sally Rooney is a great example of like really good literary writing that is still like about love and about relationships and things like that. Um, but sometimes I just want to read like a stupid, smutty, fun book.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time that's what I want to read. And so yeah, I think I was just like, I've just been inspired by those books that really like walk the line of being like I just read Heart the Lover by Lily King. And that's another one that I feel like it's about like deep interpersonal relationships, but also just being like so well written. And I think that is like my real sweet spot of what I really love. And what I am trying to, I mean, this is my first book, but like hopefully in the future, like we'll be able to strike that chord. Um, yeah, I think for sure I'm inspired by the books that I read.
Amazing.
Yeah, I feel like the books in my 20s, like the books when I was a kid and a teenager, did a lot to inform the media that I like to consume now. But the
Mhm.
books in my 20s, like, defined the
Mm,
reader that I am
very
today.
much.
Yeah. What books stood out for you guys?
The book that like changed my trajectory was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I was
Mhm.
like, I love adult fan. Always loved fantasy, but this was the book where I was like, oh my God, there's this whole
Yeah.
genre where adults are reading about adults doing magical things in magical realms. And Victoria is one of my favorite authors. I literally have a shrine to them.
My fiance's is I feel like everybody has that one book. His is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Okay.
and he
Love.
just like changed his complete like trajectory of his life. And it's so cool how like one book can just do that for somebody. I think that's like
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like in my early-ish 20s, I had moved across the country to go to school in Toronto. And I was like living on my own for the first time, like very, very this coded. Um, and
yep.
um, doing all these things. And I remember I got really, really into reading essay books and reading like Roxane Gay books,
Mhm.
reading Caitlin Moran, How to Be a Woman, all these books. It felt like older sisters telling me like this is how you can live your
Yeah.
life. How cool is this? So I feel like a lot of those have stayed with me for a really, really long time. And I'm a big romance person and I'm a big fantasy person, but there's something so beautiful about um, reading people's stories and like resonating with them. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, How to Be a Woman was probably that was the one that I then was like, oh, every girlfriend in my life, here, have this book for
Yeah.
Christmas, have this book for your birthday. Everyone's gonna read it.
Yeah. Another one that what you just said reminded me of Dolly Alderton and her books.
Yeah.
She's a big inspiration for me as well. Just like the way she writes about her life and her 20s and love and her friendships and all in London, which I'm like obsessed with London. If I wasn't in New York, I'd be in London. And so I'm like, just to be able to like see it from her perspective, I think is just like the coolest thing. And actually, funny story, I finished my book in London, and as soon as I was done, I like closed my laptop and just walked around, and I walked into a bookstore and I saw Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and walked in and just opened it, and it was signed. And I was like, oh, I have to buy it. So now I have the book
Yeah.
like on my bookshelf. I was like, this is such a sign.
That is so cool.
So I just like, yeah, I love her. She's the best.
Amazing. Not to talk about crying again, but we're going to talk about crying again.
Hey.
I was not expecting to find myself crying through a majority of this book. Spoiler
Mhm.
alert, do not read this book when you're wearing a full face of makeup and need to go look nice in pictures. Don't do it. I would not recommend.
Yeah, don't
Um,
recommend that either.
I was so struck by your own vulnerability about crying. And I mean, it's in the title, so like, hello. But I feel like as women, we are so conditioned to hide our big emotions, and you really embrace them and lay them bare for the readers. Can you talk about this choice to center your own vulnerability and your tears?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's something I did intentionally. Um, I actually the title of the book came like later. For a long time we were kind of naming it or just calling it like Dogs in the City. Which now I'm like, that's such a dumb title, but now I'm like obsessed with the title. But I'm like, so we were calling it Dogs in the City, and then a vet came out with a book called Pets in the City.
Ah,
And I was like, damn, like it's too close. And then it kind of got us back to the drawing board. And um, I remember my fiance saying, like, it's something with dogs and boys and dogs and boys. And we kept saying, like, it's about dogs and boys. And like, and then I think it was like in that moment that we like kind of put it all together, because like I do talk about crying a lot in the book. I cry a lot. I literally cried this morning before this. And I was like putting on makeup. I was like, I gotta stop crying. So I think it was just kind of like, yeah, I have always been like an extremely open person, and like I am very, it's funny because I wouldn't say I'm like an I was gonna say I wouldn't say I'm an overly emotional person, but I obviously am like very in touch with my emotions. But like I'm a
right.
Taurus, so I'm like very grounded, and like
Mm.
I'm not like hysterical. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm
No.
very like grounded. And I when I cry, it's kind of like I'm just like either I'm watching like Hamnet, or I'm, it's just like I'm really feeling something intensely. Um, and I think that's just like a big part of who I am. My parents would tell you that I cried all the time growing up, and like, and it's just something that I've never been made to feel like lesser than. Like my parents never tried to like, shut down my emotions. They have always been accepting of my emotions. And so yeah, it was kind of like I realized through writing this memoir, like, yeah, I am a very like highly emotional person, very romantic, very like I love love. I love to be in love. I love to fall in love. Um, and I think it was like when the book was done being written that I realized that like through line of my life. And that's kind of where the title came from, of like, oh, I really do cry a lot. And I cry a lot because of my dog. I cry a lot because of my foster dogs, and because of relation. I don't really cry as much anymore now that I'm in a happy relationship, but I historically I've cried a lot over boys as well. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's great to feel your feelings. Like I said at the beginning of this, like crying is such a cathartic release, and I think it's so healthy. And my fiance cries a lot too. He's like a
Oh.
very emotional guy. He mostly cries when he's happy. Like he'll just be so
Mm.
happy, he'll like start crying, which is I think is so sweet. So yeah, I think it's just like a big part of my life, which makes me happy. And I've never
Yes.
really like thought about it that much, but I love that crying is kind of like a plot point in and of
Yeah.
itself in this book.
Right.
'Cause it's
I
relatable. It's
Yeah,
relatable. We
Yeah,
all
it is.
cry.
It is. I used to say, and I still do say, that like I am getting soft in my old age. Because I historically was very closed off emotionally. I come from an Irish Catholic family, and we are not known for being overly emotional people unless it is just to like be happy or be ultra sad. But if we're ultra sad on our own. We're not like sad publicly. And God forbid.
I come from a very Irish Catholic family as well, so I really relate to that. And I'm like one of the only, I think that's why my parents like always thought that I was like, oh my God, you're so sensitive because my parents are not like that. And
No.
I mean, this is a stereotype, but a true stereotype in my family's case that like your emotions don't come out unless you're like drunk at like a family Christmas.
Yes. Yes.
And then it's
Correct.
like chaotic. That is 1000% true in my family's case.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like through my 20s and now into my 30s, I'm like, oh, I have emotions and I can feel them. And that's a lot of therapy has gone into
Okay.
that
I love
also.
therapy.
But yeah, I was like, it's okay to have emotions. You can cry and it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think for women, we're taught to like feel embarrassed about our emotions or like,
Mhm.
you know, everybody's dated a shitty guy who's like, you cry and they're like, they make you feel bad for crying. And it's just like, I think it's like that's weird too when you think back about it. Um, yeah, I think just like embracing feeling those emotions. Even I mean, even this morning, I was crying about my dog, Simon. He has like a
Mm.
lot of health stuff going on. My one of my best friends called me and she was like, "Oh, how's Simon doing?" I was like, "If I talk about it, I'll cry." She's like, "You're allowed to cry." And I'm like, "You're right." So I just like burst
Yeah.
into tears. But it's like even those moments you have to be reminded like it's
What?
okay if it's not something you have to feel bad about. It's not something you have to apologize for. Like it is good to talk about things and it's okay if you cry in the process of talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like we've
I
all, oh, sorry.
No, no, you go. You
I was
go.
gonna say, I feel like we've all gone through this like communal experience, especially as being young women in your teen years, where you're told you're too much. You're like,
Oh yeah.
and like, especially if you're like a big-hearted lover of something. I remember like if you get really into fandom or if you get really into like different things and you're like love something really out loud, people are like, "Ooh, actually, that makes you not cool," or like
Yeah,
whatever.
like cringe.
Yeah.
So cringe.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I feel like a majority of people feel that way. And it's so funny that we've let this small, minute population be like, no, it's not cool to like things or to feel big feelings or whatever. Um, but it's very cathartic. I feel like that's the buzzword of the pod,
Yeah.
is to go back and validate those feelings and be like, no, it is okay for me to feel this way. And I am allowing myself to come up with these feelings and like to meet them and let them go. So you're
Yeah.
not just like bottling them in all the time.
I
Yeah.
also think that like culture, and maybe it's just that I'm getting older and I can't speak for like the teenage experience as of today, but like I do think things are changing in that like we just like don't need like male approval anymore. And like it's just like I am so like, you know, I feel like when we were teenagers, there was like everyone wanted to be the cool girl and like you didn't want to be like other girls and you wanted to be like quirky and different. And it's like I want to be exactly like other women. Like I want to like watch my reality TV. I want to like get together and talk about my smut books. I want to I want to drink my overpriced iced latte. Like I want to go to Pilates. I'm like I want to just be around women all the time. And like it is such a compliment to me to like to be like other women and that's like the coolest thing that you could do and I feel like women now are feeling more free to just like be weird and like be open about like their obsessions and to just like be who they are and not worry about like how it's perceived as much. I hope that is true that for like teenagers are feeling more comfortable just like being who they are, but I certainly feel that of like with my friends and seeing them just like being exactly who they are, not worrying about how it's coming across or anything like that.
Yeah. I just hosted last month for Valentine's Day, a little like Valentine's Day get together. And I was like, no men, no men are allowed to come. I like your significant others fine. They can come to my other parties, not
Yeah.
this one. And so many people texted me the morning after and they were like, I haven't had a girls' night in so long. This was so much fun. And I was like, as a resident girls' girl who lives for a girls' day, if I need to host a quarterly girls' get together to ensure that we are getting quality girl time, I can bear that cross. That can be my cross to bear.
It needs to be more than quarterly. I mean, my smut
No,
book,
for real.
we meet every month for book club, but it's turned into we're like so obsessed with each other that it's now turned into like every time like we went to see Wuthering Heights together. We every time there's and so now we see each other like literally once a week because it's like we have girls' night once a week and it is just the best. Like I can't recommend enough just getting a group of like women together, especially for a shared hobby like reading
Yeah,
or something like that, and just running with it and never talking to men. It's the
agreed.
best.
Agreed. Touche. Ditto. Um, One thing I loved about the memoir was uh, how how much your love for New York like flew off the page and like how integral moving to New York was to your story. I feel like a lot of people um I feel like it's like an epicenter for a lot of people's dreams and like I come to the city with hope and love and I want to have my life and set up my life here. Um, so my question for you is what is the thing you think people should do when they visit New York for the first time and then like a lifer, someone who's like been to New York a gazillion times?
That's a great question. Um,
And Deirdre,
I
you can also answer because you're also a resident New Yorker.
there's so many good things. I will answer. Okay, for a resident New Yorker, I think taking the ferry to Red Hook is really fun. And then there's so much to do in Red Hook. There's like breweries and a winery right on the water. And then you can walk. There's like a ton of like cool vintage stores there too. But then there's a very famous key lime pie place that is like right next to the winery. And you can get like a frozen key lime pie on a stick, like covered in chocolate. And then there's a park right on the water that you can like sit and eat it.
No.
And so that is like a really, that's like, because Red Hook is a little out of the way. So a lot of people don't go, but like taking the ferry is really fun, a fun way to get there. So I would recommend that. And then for people visiting, I mean, of course, like Central Park, walking around Central Park is like a must do. But my favorite thing is actually Governor's Island for people visiting. And you take, again, you take the ferry to Governor's Island, and it is like this whole island. And they've really changed it over the years, but it's just like, I think it was an old, like, military base, but it's the most beautiful architecture, and they have all these cool things now. Like they have like restaurants, and they have a spa, and they have like all this stuff, and there's no cars, and you just like bike around, and it's so much fun. And you have like it is the best view of Manhattan, I think. And that's what people always have to remember is that the only thing that Manhattan doesn't have is a view of Manhattan. And you want to be, if you're visiting, you want that view of Manhattan, you want to get a picture. And I think Governor's Island is the best. So that's what I would recommend.
Mm.
Oh.
Put it on your itineraries.
I am definitely putting Red Hook on my itinerary for the summer.
Oh, it's so
For sure.
fun. I do that. I do that like at least once a summer because it's just so pretty on like a nice day. Also,
Yeah.
Red Hook has IKEA if you're into that. And that's like a really fun day for people too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get
The
the
taking the ferry
meatballs.
to IKEA is like quintessential, I feel
Yep,
like.
absolutely.
Um, I think if I had to recommend both for people that have lived here and first timers on a beautiful day, going to the cloisters.
Oh, I
Um,
do love the cloisters.
because so much of the museum and the actual cloisters are outside. So while
Yep,
you can go on a rainy day, and a great rainy day activity is going to any of the other museums, I think the cloisters is particularly nice on like a day where you don't mind being outside.
yes.
Um, yeah, that's
You
my
know what I
answer.
just did that I actually would really recommend? So I went to the Bronx Zoo last weekend,
Mm.
and they have these like connection experiences. So the Bronx Zoo does like all this animal conservation, which I don't think a lot of people realize. Um, and so I did a giraffe connection, and you do it with like six friends, and it's like $400, but divided by six. So it's like not that crazy. But all the money goes to like all of this amazing conservation work, and you get to feed the giraffes, and it is the coolest thing ever. And then afterwards you can go to like Arthur Ave and get like amazing Italian food. So that's another really fun like itinerary type
Yeah.
thing.
I think Bronx Zoo is on my list for the summer because I haven't been since I was a kid.
I know.
I
I
haven't been
it's
forever.
you don't think about it, but it's like it's such a good zoo. It's a really
It's a
good zoo.
great zoo. Great zoo. Weirdly, the aquarium at Coney Island, also excellent.
Yes. I do love Coney Island. It's so
Yeah.
gross and weird, but I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I would recommend. Please, everybody
You
go.
have to go at least
Don't let
once.
them tear down Coney Island, please.
Oh my God.
Ugh,
The freak show? Come on. You got to
I
keep the freak
know. Okay, it is time for our game. If
show.
anybody is returning to the podcast, you know that we love to make our guests play a game. So I found a quiz online for us all to take where we can find out what dog breed we are.
Okay. I'm so
Because I feel like
excited.
everybody talks about having the golden retriever boyfriend, and I just know I am not a golden retriever. If there's one thing I know about myself, that's not my
Well,
breed.
I guess we'll see. Maybe you are.
Dude,
I
imagine you
know.
are.
I'd be shocked.
I would also be shocked.
Okay, let me know when everybody has it up.
Okay, I have it up.
Me too.
Okay. What is your activity level? Pretty low. I strongly dislike activity and exercise. Moderate. I exercise to stay healthy, but nothing intense. High. I try to get out and break a sweat several days a week. Very high. I love challenging myself athletically every day.
I'm like a strong, pretty lower moderate.
I'm a
I'm moderate, I would say.
I try to work out a few times a week, but also it's because I work from home and I feel like I need to just like get out of the house sometimes. I would literally just sit on my couch all day if I didn't do that. So
Yeah.
I mean, chasing kids, if that counts as exercise,
it kind of
I mean,
by
does.
default, moderate, I'd say.
a
Yeah.
little bit.
Okay.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert? I'm an introvert, personally.
I always say I'm an extroverted introvert
Yeah.
because I love being around people, but I think the definition is like if you get your energy by being around people or if you get your energy by being alone, and I for sure get my energy by being alone. I
Yeah.
need to like recharge, so I think I'm going to say somewhere in the middle. But I do love I am extroverted in general, but
I feel like I've become more extroverted the older I am, but at my core, I know I'm an introvert.
yeah, like my fiance is so extroverted like he like he doesn't need to recharge. Like he can just like keep going and keep socializing and like it's so crazy. I'm like, I don't
What's
know.
that like?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know. I don't know. I'm so exhausted by being around people. It's like crazy.
Actually.
yeah, halfway through
Uh,
the function, you're like, I need to leave, actually. Goodbye. I'm
yeah.
actually done with this.
It's not like that.
Crazy.
What is your absolute favorite thing to do? Read a good book, travel to a new vacation spot, go on a bike ride, hike and camp outdoors, hang with friends and family.
My absolute favorite thing. I I like all of these things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, reading a good book is like I think I'm just gonna say hang with friends and family. I think that's probably my like I love reading, but my absolute favorite thing, I think I'm gonna go with friends and family.
I'm torn between vacation spot and hang with friends and family off of this list,
Yeah.
Right.
you know? I think I'm gonna go vacation spot mostly because I haven't vacationed in a while and the Sagittarius in me is like, get out.
Yeah.
Or-
That's a good one too.
I think, yeah, I'm stuck between reading a good book and hanging with friends and family. I'm like, I love a good book, but I also love my friends and family. Could I read a book and hang out with my friends and family? Is that an option?
The only
Um,
one.
Probably hang out with friends and family.
Okay. Would you rather try something you've never done before, do something you already know you enjoy?
Do
Oh,
something I already know I enjoy.
I'm a
yeah,
creature of habit.
same.
Me too.
Same.
What is most important to you? Your relationships, self-improvement, memorable experiences, staying healthy, the environment.
My relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say.
Huge relationship guy.
Yeah, same. We're gonna get all the same one.
I know we're all golden retriever. Holy crap.
Which describes you best? Low maintenance, up for anything, family oriented. That is
Those are really
an
weird
odd.
questions, really weird choices.
Those are the ends of the spectrum of how people are.
I
That's
think
crazy.
low maintenance. I'm definitely not up for anything.
Yeah, same.
I like to think I'm up for anything, but I'm actually not.
I'm
Really.
not up for I'm like so not up for anything. And I am family oriented, but I feel like people wouldn't be like like I feel like that's yeah. I'm gonna say
Yeah, I
low
don't think
maintenance.
that's what describes me. I'm gonna say low
My
maintenance.
wedding planner says I'm low maintenance, so
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I think I'm gonna say family oriented. I feel like I'm a little bit, I would like to think I'm low maintenance, but I think I'm a little bit higher than low maintenance. So family oriented.
On the weekend, would you rather explore a new city, go backpacking in the woods, have a backyard barbecue, run a 5K, work on a creative project?
ooh, explore new city for sure.
Work on a creative project. I've gotten really into coloring.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Really into
that.
coloring.
I've been too busy. I haven't been able to work on anything. So I'm like, every 2 hour chunk I get on a weekend, I'm like, okay, let's work on this project you've had banked forever.
Love.
You tend to, sorry.
I was just gonna say my like absolute favorite thing to do is going to a new place and like just walking around and like trying a new coffee shop and like going to the park. Like I that's like my favorite thing in the world.
I
Yeah.
love that.
You tend to go with the flow, take the lead, come up with ingenious solutions, silently observe, refuse to give in.
It depends on who I'm with.
Mhm.
I think take the lead
I'm the
is
problem solver, so I think I said I'm gonna come up with ingenious solutions.
Mm. I can't stand when people don't make this decision, so I take the lead.
me too. Well, I keep bringing up Jacob, but Jacob is a Libra and he's so indecisive. And so I'm like, this is what we're doing. Like, I gotta take the lead. Okay, show me my results.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Wait, what? This is shocking to me.
okay. Danielle, what'd you get?
A Labrador, which is very golden retriever adjacent. Um, social butterfly, life of the party, and friend to all. You and the lab are a perfect match. Whether you throw a backyard barbecue, take walks with other dogs, or get together with family and friends every weekend, these jolly family dogs will love every minute of it.
Golly.
Am I jolly? Crazy.
Isabel.
I got an outdoorsy Malamute. You're a
Oh,
rugged nature. Also, I didn't choose any of the nature answers. You're
right.
a rugged nature lover, and so is the Alaskan Malamute. In fact, these outdoorsy explorers were bred to trek through harsh terrain in extreme climates. That makes them the perfect companion for long hikes, camping trips, and backpacking excursions, especially in cold weather. I'm like, I didn't. Okay.
Sure.
Sure.
I got low-key basset hound. Um, apparently I need a basset hound in my life. That's what they're telling me. These
Okay.
good-natured, peaceful, and amusing hounds don't need a lot of exercise. They're content snoring by your side as you read, binge watch Netflix, and do any other introvert-like things. So they really took that introvert one
I
very
do love basset
seriously.
hounds.
I do. They're so cute.
They're so cute. I feel like the
Okay,
basset
well,
hound might have been the best one.
Yeah.
I feel it. I do. I feel like I see myself in many a basset hound.
Yeah.
I am an outdoorsy person, but it's weird because I feel like I didn't choose any of the outdoorsy options.
Right.
Anyway,
I'm impressed that we all got different breeds.
I
Yes.
know. Me too. That's it, which makes me feel like it was like kind of random, but
Right.
True. True.
Okay. Yay. Congratulations, everybody.
did it.
While this book is a memoir, there are a few moments you tell us about without going into great detail. And as someone who cares deeply about storytelling flow, I think I talked about this a little at the beginning. I really appreciate this because it felt like you so deeply understood the story you wanted to tell without
Mhm.
giving us every detail of your life. Um, but I am also nosy. And please, can you tell us about the Westminster Kennel Club?
The
What was that
Westminster.
experience? You said in the book that
Oh,
you went to the Westminster Kennel Club, but it was like such a fleeting moment. I was like, I would like to know more, please. Could
like
you
you
pull
mean
back?
the annual event, like the Westminster
Yes.
show?
Yeah.
Could you pull back the
It's
furry curtain for us?
Not the
it
furry
is
curtain girl.
fascinating. It is. Have you ever seen the movie Best in Show?
Yes.
That's one of my favorite movies. I actually just went to the reunion. I think it was like 20 year. No, it must have been God. I don't know. I just went to the reunion. Like they did like a tour of showing that movie. Anyway, that movie is like very accurate. Like the
Mm.
personalities of the handlers and the breeders are like nothing you've ever experienced before. They are just like such a specific type of person. They're really intense. They're really like they take it really seriously as they should, I suppose. But like it's just it's interesting is what I'll say. But it is cool. I mean, like, listen, I will never get a purebred dog unless it's like a rescue dog. Or I should say, I will only ever rescue a dog
Yes.
for the rest of my life. But it is cool to see like the best of the best bred dogs of like all these different breeds that you'd never see like walking down the street. I personally think like the history of dog breeds is really interesting and really cool. And I think there's like a time and place for it. So it is, if you're like a dog breed freak, it's like the coolest place ever because there's just like, 20 Great Danes like walking down a hallway at the same time. And it's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But the personalities are really, really interesting. And if you were wondering if Best in Show is accurate, it is like scary accurate. Like those people exist and they walk amongst us.
Okay. You just flew past it so quickly in the book. I was like, I gotta ask this question. I want to know more.
I need a little more info, please.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Um, okay. Last question before we get into our current reads. Deirdre and I have both had a lot of moves in our lives, which I feel like maybe it's like our generation era of people are like, I have to move. I have to be
Yeah.
free. I have to move to grow. But um, Deirdre going from New Jersey to New York. I went from Calgary to Toronto to Lethbridge to Calgary again. Um, little Canadian adventure. And we've all hauled a lot of crap with us. Through all of your moves, what is something that has come with you every time? What has survived all of the moves in your life?
Oh, you know what? It's like so stupid. And every time I move, I'm like, why did I move with this? It is like this ugly like paint, like it's not even a painting, it's like something I bought at Target when I was like 18 that I was like, this is like cool, and I like bought this piece of art, and I don't know why I still have it, and every time I move I'm like, why do I have this? um Everything else has like kind of come and gone, although there's a few things that like the past few apartments have gotten, like our bed frame, our couch is like literally falling apart, but that I think is the only one that has literally been with me since like apartment number one.
Mm.
um my dresser is falling apart, like everything. We're in the process of moving right now, and I don't think a lot of these things will become. I think this is like going to be our first like real adult apartment where we're not like taking things from apartment to apartment and like trying to make it work. I think we're going
Right.
to start from scratch.
Nice.
I was thinking about this when I read the question this morning because my first, well, I guess I can't think of college because that was so long ago. And I think it's like a whisk has come with me
Yeah,
through all of
that's a
it.
good one.
Um, but my first like move outside of being a student, I lived on a cruise ship and worked on a cruise ship for a year, and I was like, there has to be something that has survived all of my ship moves and my moves back and forth between New Jersey and New York. And I think I actually have it right here.
Ta-da!
Oh yeah. So I got this from my first cast on Disney Cruise Line.
Oh,
All the characters that I worked with signed this frame for me as my goodbye, and it's come
So
with me everywhere.
cute.
And I've never printed a photo to put in it. I've just kept it as the stock image of Mickey and Minnie, which I think is quite
Oh, see,
fitting.
I didn't even realize that was a stock image. I thought they
Yeah.
like framed that
I was like,
photo for you.
this is a beautiful
Nope,
sepia
nope,
image.
nope. It's the stock image, but it oddly works really well with the frame.
Yes,
And this little guy has come with me everywhere.
I
Aw,
love
Just crazy.
that.
Yeah.
very sweet.
Um, Mine is my books. I've hauled
Yeah.
these books across Canada and back. The collection has grown for sure, especially like since getting involved in the book
Yeah.
space online. I have a lot more books, but
I can't. I'm being crushed by my books.
yeah, literally, I'm
But
like,
also,
oh my
like,
God.
you don't realize how heavy books are until you're moving, and you're like, this is 8,000 pounds.
Yeah, I had to FedEx my books from Toronto back to Calgary. And I was like, this is hundreds of dollars. Like I could just like donate and buy them again, but I'm such a sentimental person. But probably like I still have my original copies of the Twilight series, which are like all broken apart and gross, and well loved. I have a copy of Interview with the Vampire with Anne Rice. There's a couple of books where I'm like, they followed me uh,
Mhm.
that I'll never get rid of, no matter how gnarly they are. They're stuck with me forever.
Yeah. I've had to become a Kindle reader because I literally do not have room in my apartment like for another book. I'm like I don't have room, so I had to cut myself off.
Good for
And
you.
I really like my Kindle. But I do fear we're moving into a bigger place and I'm like this is dangerous because I'm going to have more room for books now.
Yeah.
Oh
And then
yeah.
the same thing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna have to keep getting bigger houses.
Yep.
And
All
that's
for
when
the
they get you.
books. The books and the
Yep.
dogs.
Books and the dogs.
Exactly.
True.
Uh, thank you so much, Isabel, for sitting down and chatting with us. Before we let you go, we do like to round out the episode with our current reads. If you need a second to think about it, I'm happy to go first because I have a couple books I'm very excited to talk about.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
I can go just because it's like a quick one. I was recently recommended the Windy City series, which is like a
Mhm.
series of like smut books essentially, but they're like well, like everybody on the face of the planet, I was obsessed with Heated Rivalry. And so the Windy City series is like sports like smut and it's a whole series based in Chicago of like different sports teams. So the first one is a hockey player and a flight attendant. And
I've
that's
read
the one,
these books.
yeah, that's the one I'm reading right now. Apparently there's a ton of, I'm looking at them up. How many are in this series?
There's,
Okay, there's only 5. That's not that crazy.
yeah,
Okay.
But
they're very good though.
yeah, they're pretty good. And I mean they're fun and they're like sexy and that's yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. I just
Yeah.
finished Throne of Glass, the entire Throne of Glass series.
Hey.
So I needed something like a little lighter because that like crushed my soul in the
Yeah.
best way. So I needed something that was just like light and fun.
That was Deirdre and I's like first book series we read together.
Yeah.
Ugh,
We did a buddy
That's how we
read.
became friends.
like
Mid-COVID craziness.
Mid-COVID. Yeah. That was
yeah,
crazy.
I'll
a book that you read and you're like I like what how am I supposed to like read after this? Like you're just like what do I like what am I supposed to do? So I that's why I turned to like something kind of mindless.
Yeah.
and I love now that I feel like, especially because there's so many online book like spots and pockets where you can find really great recommendations. People like, if you like this, here's
Yeah,
this fabulous thing, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
it's giving these vibes, but it's a little different or whatever. So thankful for the online book community for keeping my reading fun and fresh.
Yeah.
totally.
I'll go next 'cause mine is relatively quick.
Perfect.
I picked this up. I'm doing this new thing where I'm just buying books by the cover, like I did when I was a teenager. I was like, is this beautiful or what? Um, which is honestly very cathartic. Oh, there it is again, buzzword, for me, because I feel like oftentimes I get so bogged down of like is this going to be a good book? Is it going to be worth my time? Blah, 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 blah. But there's something very nice about just like, this seems interesting. I'm going to pick it up and give it a shot. This is
Mhm.
called the Grimoire Grammar School Parent Teacher Association. And it's giving like TJ Klune, House in the Cerulean Sea vibes, which
Mm.
was my favorite book for a very long time. Um, but it's about this woman who has a kindergartner who gets bitten by a werewolf. So now she has to go to this like supernatural school. So it's like her journey into motherhood and into like what school is like, but also like for this supernatural child. And it's very whimsical and it's very funny and it's very sweet. Um, yeah, it's just like a fun little read, and it's really pretty for a little
I
paperback.
was gonna say I love that new trend of I don't know what they call it, but the print on the side of the pages. I think it's so cool. I love
So
that.
beautiful.
Yeah, love a
Um,
sprayed edge.
it's just yeah, it's just a sweet little like I love I love like cozy
Yeah,
fantasy. Yeah, cozy
I
fantasy.
love cozy books.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I'm so excited to talk about this book.
Oh my gosh, go
I
girl.
like broke down on the internet talking about it. But first, I'll tell you about the two books I'm currently reading because I read this book a month ago. I just started The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I am
Hey.
finally getting into it. I feel like I waited long enough that she's rewriting the series now, 10 years after she first published it. So I'm getting the like re-released versions. So I'll be able to
Nice.
go through the series instead of having to wait for the re-released versions, which is nice. Um, so that's I'm slowly making my way through the Bone Season, and I'm happy to be back in Samantha's writing. It is so different from Priory of the Orange Tree.
It
Like
is.
it is not even close to being the same thing, which is kind of nice. Um, I started a it's not a romance, but it's like romance based, called So I Met This Guy by Alexandra Potter. And it's
Ooh.
about romance fraud. And this woman basically gets like all her possessions and like her money stolen from her
It's
by a
kind of like
man,
true crime
Yeah, like
romance.
Tinder
kind
swindler.
of.
Well,
Love.
And this journalist comes to her like where she's staying and is like, I want to do an expose on it, but you are the only person that I can interview about this man specifically. And so they're like trying to follow him across Europe and track down this con man.
Oh
Um,
God, very
so
Tinder swindler.
yeah. Yeah. So that's been fun to go through. It's very British humor. So I think if you enjoy sort of like a British perspective on things, you'll probably end up enjoying that book. But the book I really want to talk about, The Swan's Daughter by Roshani Chokshi. And if you like The Swan Princess, the movie, or if you like Swan Lake, the ballet, or the Barbie movie, you're gonna love this book. It's a YA fantasy romance about a girl who was born out of a toxic relationship. Her parents are both these like giant mythical beings, and her mom is this specific type of swan maiden. And her dad is a sorcerer who figures out that if a human has children with these swan maidens, then they are usually born with these keys around their neck. And all of these swan maidens have these keys, but a lot of them are usually locked away in their heart because it only appears when they fall in love. So by being born with them outside, the person that has the key controls the person's magic. So he's able to like fully hone them and create them into what he wants them to be, and then can essentially barter them off to other kingdoms, because they're going to have their magic, they're going to have control over them. But their seventh daughter is born with her key inside her heart, and she can't switch into her swan form. So she is sort of like the black swan of her family. And it's all about her and how destiny sort of like turns her eye towards her when she's later in her teen years. And she gets sent off to be in a competition for a prince's heart. And this prince's downfall is also that his heart is his downfall. And he is from a line of royalty where the person that you fall in love with nine times out of 10, they end up killing them so that they can take full control of the kingdom. And in this world, you have two lives. So your first death, you usually end up becoming some sort of like object or a tree or something. And then you get to live the rest of your life as this other being. And then you do eventually finally die. So in this competition, it's all about like who is actually there for the right reasons, who is there to gain control of this kingdom. And the two of them are sort of able to see themselves within each other, but then also they both know that if they end up falling in love with each other, there could be consequences to that love. And it's so delightful. I feel like I don't always find yearning in YA romances. And for a YA fantasy romance, it's so lush and beautiful. It's like very The Addams Family meets The Swan Princess. So if you enjoy a little bit of darkness and grit in your romances, I cannot recommend it enough. I screamed about it so much on
Oh,
the
I love
internet in
that.
February. And I've been dying to talk about it on the podcast.
That sounds amazing. Sometimes when I hear about books like that, I'm like, how did somebody even come up with that concept?
No, and Roshani is one of my favorite fantasy authors because the way she crafts her worlds, there's so much depth to her characters and so much depth to the world. I'm always like, how did that come out of your brain?
But that's it's like it's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's like such a talent to be able to like come up with such layered universes. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So 10 out of 10 would recommend if you're in the mood for a very fun and like I like to say it's lighthearted because it's very funny, but it's really dark.
Well,
There's a
it's
lot
are
of
kind of
like
cozy.
there's a lot of death and manipulation in it. So
Love.
if you like that, would recommend. With that, Isabel, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It has been an absolute delight getting to chat with you. In the event that our listeners have not heard of you and want to follow you online or in other places, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram and on TikTok at SimonSits. And my memoir is Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About, if we didn't say it enough on the podcast. And it is available anywhere that books are sold.
Yes, yeah, it will be out by the time this episode comes out, so go and pick up your copy now. I Is your tour fully sold out?
There is it is nearly sold out. I believe there are some tickets in Miami and Austin left.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
take a look and see if there are
Yeah.
still tickets by
Maybe,
the time this
maybe, who
episode
knows?
comes out. Uh, if you want to stay in touch with what we are doing on the podcast, I am at Deirdre Rose Morgan on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Enchanted Echoes on Bindery.
Mhm. I'm DJ Books on TikTok, Instagram, and on Threads.
That is it for this week's episode. We will catch you when our full season comes out in June. We hope you enjoyed this extra special early episode, and we will chat to you in the next one. Bye.
Goodbye.